Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on a Thursday. The Grizz hold on to win before they go on vacay. Tigers face another revenge game tonight, and it was a wild night in the SEC. So good to have you in here. Russell Copeland's going to put the Super Bowl to bed today. Jarvis Greer's switch days. He'll join us. We'll talk a little bit about that Grizzlies win with him and whatever else might pop up. No J-Mo in the house today, but Brian Dacus filling in. It's going to be a long day for Brian, and I must say, a rather dapper Brian Dacus. Did you get all dressed up just to do the show with me? Because, I'm sort of low-key here.
Well, Dave, you're a big deal, so I have to dress for success when I'm coming to work with you.
You're already a success. Doing the show now with Stats in the afternoon. Looking forward to that. And don't forget, tomorrow you still are under contract to do the Friday afternoon segment with
I'll
me.
be here.
Okay. Very, very good. It was crazy last night. The Grizz win 117-111, so they go up 24. And you know what happened then, Brian Dacus?
What happened?
They decided to go on vacation right then and there.
Yeah, they did.
And it was interesting because I think it was Brother Knight who said on the broadcast, he goes, once you, think it's over, you sort of let up, and that's human nature, and you can't turn it back on. Fortunately for the Grizz, they do have a guy named John Morant.
He's pretty good. Because
they went up 24, the vacation started, and then with a minute 28 to go, it was a one-point game. They never did surrender the lead. So Morant then, I think, scores their final 3 or 4 points to put it away. They end up winning by the 11. Triple J had a great game. 26 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 steals. So I didn't realize this, and they're making a big deal of it. And I think Triple J was very right in his nonchalant approach. But nobody in history, and it's hard for me to believe that this is the case, but I guess because most of the guys that would have 5 blocks and 5 steals would not be three-point shooters, right? No one in history has ever had 5 blocks, 5 steals, and 5 made threes in a game. So Morant flirted with it. He had 5 steals. He had 4 blocks. Well, getting a 5th block is certainly not out of the ordinary for him. He takes enough threes where that could occur. He was 1 short there. So 1 block and 1 3 made short of the 5-5-5. So if 666 is dastardly, 5-5-5, is that heavenly?
Gotta be.
Yeah, I guess. Wow. That is pretty cool. He's off to the All-Star game. Then Desmond Bane, his usual proficient self, 24 points. And then Ja, who had, I believe, 20 points, 9 assists in the game.
Yeah.
Did get people involved.
8 rebounds, too, for Ja.
Not chopped liver.
No, not
that
at
is
all.
for sure. I'm going to tell you, if I were Kelly Olynyk, I would want to play the Grizzlies all the time. It seems like he's always good. He had 28 points and 14 rebounds, and Jordan Clarkson, who appears, I have no idea what he's really like, but just his persona watching the game, he's a weird dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's a weird guy. He had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He had a whale of a game.
Well, Jordan Clarkson's the guy who last time they were in town tried to fight the entire team, right? He was balling up his fist and was trying to go after everybody. So, yeah, he's a little weird.
He's
good
crazy.
player, though.
Yeah, he's excellent. And that's the last time they will play Utah. And that poor Utah team's about to just sink to the bottom because, well, first of all, I don't know, with no Markkanen last night. Rudy Gay, I don't know if he started to collect Social Security quite yet.
It's
but
close.
He took the night off. It's so funny now. They're asking him, you know how they say, illness, not COVID.
Yeah. Got to specify.
Right. Illness, not COVID. And now they're going, real illness without COVID?
Or fake
and they're
illness.
all like laughing about it. They don't want to say load management anymore, I guess.
Oh, because everyone's hating on the load management,
well,
so you got to say something.
Well, they ought to.
Yeah.
I think. You know what load management is?
What?
Load management is, in reality, too many games.
That's
Change
absolutely.
the damn schedule. Play your players.
I 100% agree.
And it's the league. I've said this a million times, so I shouldn't keep repeating myself, but it does irk me. I've never seen them go, okay, the two guys you came to see aren't playing tonight, so half price on the ticket. They don't do that, and they're never going to do that. All right,
gotta make the money.
So if we're looking over this year now, the Grizzlies are 35-22. That, by the way, is the most wins before the All-Star break for any Grizzlies team. So there's no question this year, which is really, if you think about it, we're supposed to be in the second year of a rebuild, and they had a great run last year and an even maybe better run this year. You realize now with 25 games left, if they take 2 out of 3, just 2 out of 3, they get to 50 wins.
Wow. I didn't even realize that. And because I think a lot of it has played a role in kind of what they've done lately. Everyone's kind of such a creature of right now, and with their kind of losing streak at times and kind of struggling down the stretch. But all in all, you got to be happy with what they've done the first half of the season.
Well, and they should be totally healthy when the All-Star break is over. So that makes you feel pretty good. So 35-22, that's great. Home, 24-5, that's great.
Fantastic.
Their road record, we know, is not good. And here's the other thing that is very troubling to me. If I were a Grizzly fan, steadfast that they're going to keep that number 2 seed, because I don't think so.
It's going to be tough.
If you look what they are in the Western Conference, what would be, when you look at 35-22, what would you think their record would be within their own conference, the West, where they're the 2 seed?
I would think it'd be up around 20, 25.
17-16.
That's not good.
They're 1 game over 500 in their own conference. But when you look at the overall numbers, you have to be pleased. What, in your mind, is the biggest pleasant surprise? I've got one. I'll tell you right now. It's Santi Aldama. When Aldama came into the league, I guess last year, I thought, oh, my God, what do they see in this guy, especially the first 3 or 4 games? And, he got sent down to the hustle. He went to South Haven, and I got to tell you, they did a great job. I heard, I guess it was Zach Kleiman who was saying, when we send somebody down, it's really not a demotion. It's a part of us, and they're there to get minutes, to get rhythm, to develop. And they did that with Aldama. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So I think Santi Aldama, you could say Triple J's emergence as the second All-Star, because remember, he started the year under the, medically unable to play. So those are the 2 things that I would put forth. What have you got?
I was going to go with those 2.
I should point out, I did not give you any warning on this, so this is all
fine.
Spontaneous.
It's completely fine.
Spontaneous.
But I think when you look at Santi especially, and you talked about what Kleiman said about how they develop guys and kind of send them down to the G League, and it's not a demotion, I think with the Grizzlies G League team being right there in South Haven, so close that it gives them a better opportunity to kind of develop these guys, whereas other teams in the NBA, their G League teams, are other states away,
right,
or far away, where they can't just kind of send guys down for a couple days, bring them back up like the Grizzlies do, which I think is helpful. And Santi, I don't think people realize coming into the season, he was averaging like 20 points and like 8 or 9 rebounds a game in the G League last year, so he was doing really well. I would probably have to go with Santi for sure, and then obviously Jaren's played really well, but I think having Santi off the bench and being able to do what he's done this year has been massive.
So what's the worst development for the Grizzlies this year? Is it the draft picks haven't worked out so well?
Yeah.
I mean, Roddy maybe is a guy that I think is going to make it. LaRavia, I think they've pretty much given up on him this year. Mm-hmm. They're sending him down to the G League. They have not scored big like they have in years past, and they had 2 first-round picks there, and Roddy appears to be the better of the 2.
Yeah, I was never really sold on the rookies coming into the season, so I wouldn't say that was the biggest disappointment for me. I would probably say the three-point shooting deficiencies we've seen this season, and maybe getting Luke Kennard could help that. He was 2 for 4 last night from 3, but I think you saw it in the game against Boston over the weekend where the Grizzlies just couldn't hit a 3 to save their life, and I think Boston hit like 11 and a quarter or something like that. I mean, they were just shooting lights out, so I'd probably have to go with that.
I would say, and I may be wrong because I was going back and forth on a lot of basketball last night. I was watching, at that point, I was watching Tennessee and Alabama.
There were a lot of good games last night.
With the Grizz game. The Grizzlies, and you correct me if I'm wrong or anybody out there knows, text us on the text line at 901-360-8255. The Grizzlies made 10 of their first 17 threes.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain. I think they then missed their next 16 threes.
That is correct.
They missed 16 in a row. They're pros, aren't they?
They sure are, but they struggle from 3. But yeah, because I saw a lot of people tweeting last night, wow, they've made so many to start the game, and then like 30 minutes later, Grizzlies can't hit a 3 now. So it's been a problem, but I do like the pickup of Luke Kennard.
I think Luke Kennard's a nice pickup. They didn't cost him anything but 3 second-round draft picks, and those these days
he needs to shoot the ball more, but
well, he's got to get a shot too.
Yeah, that's true.
But the whole point of him is somebody's got to pay attention to him. That opens up the lane for Ja.
Yeah.
So I just his presence should be helpful to a certain degree. The other bad development, it's the last one that I could think of, and that is Zaire Williams. Because there were a lot of people that thought Zaire Williams would really be the guy. Well, you know what? Santi Aldama has become that, and a better version of what Zaire Williams was at the end of last year. So I don't know that they really lost that because they got it in Aldama, but Williams clearly, and I don't know if it's because of injury or maybe he was decent last year. He did not have a great collegiate career either. He's still a very young guy, but he's a disappointment to what the expectations were coming in.
Yeah, I would say so. I still don't want to give up on him. I know some people have, but I mean, like you said, he's so young. And then kind of when you look back at the injuries that he's kind of gone through since getting to the NBA, he dealt with injuries while he was at Stanford. And if you'd remember, his one season at Stanford was the COVID season where Stanford wasn't playing at their home gym. A lot of their games were being canceled. So it was a very weird season for him in college. But like you said, I mean, he's still very young, but it's definitely kind of disappointing that they're having to send him down to South Haven, and he's not a consistent key player in this rotation.
All right. Last night in the SEC and the AAC, one game I got to talk about in the AAC, and you guys have heard me talk about the passing of Jeff Charles, the East Carolina play-by-play guy for 33 years, I believe. So last night they did a tribute before the game with Cincinnati. This is the first game they've played since his passing last weekend. And so they show this Jeff Charles tribute on the Jumbotron, and then East Carolina goes out and beats Cincinnati. Wow. I don't know if that's really good for the league or for the Tigers who play Cincinnati in the next couple of weeks, but it sure was amazing that ECU wins at home in that final in the first game back from Jeff Charles passing with the Jumbotron tribute to him. That was magical to me. Last night in the SEC, it was crazy. So many good games that were on. And you got to start with number 1, Alabama against number 10, Tennessee. What a spectacular defensive effort by Tennessee. Just so you know, Alabama averages 83.5 points a game. They were held to 59 points. They shot 35%. Wow. Now, I will say Thompson Bowling is a great home court advantage because were they getting calls? Unbelievable. But so was Jonas Adu. Mm-hmm. He was outstanding. He had double-double last night. He had 3 blocks in the game. He was really terrific. When I think of their inside game, I think of Plastic. I don't really think about this guy. And he to me was the star of the game, and then their defense. I mean, Brandon Miller. What were I'm going to have to look real quick here to see.
He's 4 for 11.
4 for
from the
11.
field.
I knew it was bad.
But still, I mean, I think this also shows how good of a player Brandon Miller is, even going 4 for 11, and you could see he was all out of sorts, 15 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah,
So, I mean, a great game nonetheless.
I agree. Clowney was stymied.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was 2 of 9. He got rebounds, but I think, it's hard to say because Tennessee is the number 10 team in the country.
Yeah.
But Alabama was exposed a little bit for one thing in my mind. I don't think they did a good job of penetration. I think they just kept trying to get shots and force them on the perimeter without getting inside the paint to kick out.
Yeah.
And that could be because they don't have a good enough penetrator to do that. And Rick Barnes and Tennessee took advantage of that. But pretty good stuff. Then you had that game going on. I don't even want to talk about the Ole Miss Florida game because, I really feel bad for Kermit Davis. I like Kermit Davis, and I think Kermit Davis is a decent coach, but it's just gone totally the wrong way for him. I don't see how in the world he'll be the coach there next year. You had A&M coming from behind, and they were behind early, big, to beat Arkansas. Arkansas waxed them in Fayetteville. I thought they were going to do the same thing here. They did Memphis a big favor by winning because that helps the Tigers net for sure. A&M is a winner in the closing seconds. They end up winning by 6. And then what a game between Kentucky and Mississippi State.
It was a great environment, too. The hump was rocking.
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. And Kentucky had to win. If Mississippi State wins that game, Kentucky could be done.
Yeah.
Could be done. So, really, just a great night in that regard in the SEC. It was fun to watch. Tonight, real quick, Tigers and UCF. This is revenge game number 2. Let me just say this. The first thing Memphis has to do is stop allowing the threes because UCF hit 16 threes. Granted, there were 2 overtimes. 16 threes in that game at a 46% clip. Now, since then, Memphis has done a better job of perimeter D. Not a great job, but a better job. And they're going to have to do a really good job in this game. They got to turn them over, but I hate to say this. Their point guard, Darius Johnson, didn't play in that game. So that is going to hurt. But there's no Alo and no Malco again tonight. And I keep hearing whispers. I really thought Alo would play in this game. But I keep hearing whispers they'll play against Houston. I really wanted them to play in this game first to get their legs under them. To throw them into the game in Houston, that is going to be tough. But that may be the case. But they got to win tonight. They got to get 4 guys in double figures. That seems to be the key. If they do that, they will win the game. They have definitely improved offensively. This may be the best offensive team that Penny has ever had. In conference play, they're averaging 89 points a game.
That is wild.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. KD's going to break the conference record. He's 2 points away. So you think they'll stop everything like they did?
Give him the LeBron treatment?
With LeBron?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't think so. But once he hits 2 of 1,860 points, that will beat Quentin Rose. He'll be the greatest scorer in the history of the American Athletic Conference. So that kind of wraps up college basketball. By the way, I got to say this. I'm really pleased. ECS made a coaching change in the winter. All these schools are making coaching changes. Blake Butler, the former Tiger offensive lineman, whose dad is Keith Butler, defensive coordinator for years, not just Memphis, but of course the Pittsburgh Steelers for the long run. He has been at Trinity Christian Academy. He was an assistant at ECS, I think for Jim Hines for a couple of years, got his feet wet, then got this gig at Trinity Christian, went 73-66 there, and Braxton Brady, who's the headmaster and the former Tiger team chaplain, he brought him back. So I think it's a great marriage for ECS. Blake Butler's a great guy. I think a really good coach, former Tiger. So that is great to have that, have a guy like that and his wife back in the city. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and I told you they have extended that floor model sale. So if you still want to cash in on the lowest prices this year on pool tables and spas and patio furniture and game tables, head to I-40 and Whidden Road because they've kept it going through the month. The floor model sale is happening at Family Leisure I-40 and Whidden Road. And our title sponsor, as always, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai, where they're doing something it's really crazy, but they're paying you to do business with them. What do you mean, Wolo? They're paying? Here's what they're doing. They're saying if you would like a luxury car, and there's nothing better than a Genesis, if you would like a G70 and you agree to do your financing through Genesis, which why wouldn't you? They'll pay you $1,000. You got to get there if you want a luxury car, the best products. That is at the corner of Craft Road, the first exit in Mississippi off Highway 78, which is Lamar. Turn left and go see Chris True and all the gang. Go see Vinny Gerard. He's over the Genesis cars. Tell him you heard it here and you want the deal. You'll do business if they pay you like they're doing at Homer Skelton Hyundai. We pause for a second. Our friend Russell Copeland will wrap up the Super Bowl in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Right now is a great time to take advantage of Choate's winter specials by upgrading your furnace, switching to a Rinnai tankless water heater, or getting $50 off air duct cleaning. By now, you most likely have heard of the benefits of UV light technology for your HVAC system. Purchase any new Carrier furnace right now, and we will install one for you at no additional cost. For those who have not installed a tankless water heater yet, what are you waiting on? Stop wasting utilities heating water you do not use and getting frustrated taking cold showers or baths. Right now, when you purchase a Rinnai tankless water heater, Choates will install one premium toilet for free in your home. And Choates is offering $50 off its air duct cleaning services. Not only does this service get the years of dust out of your ducts, it also helps the indoor air quality you and your family breathe every day. All these specials qualify for 18 months, no interest financing with approved credit. So call 347-8086 to schedule your free estimate today. Turn to the experts with Choates and let our family serve your family.
When you're hunting for small game or big game or thinking of selling your home, think about Sheldon Rosengarten and you Mallory.
That's right, Sheldon. We're with Mark Spensdorf Realtors, and while I'm often successful when I go hunting, I heard you're such a lousy golfer they've banned you from some courses.
Very funny, you. I may be a horrible golfer, but I have a highly successful strategic marketing program with the famous Shellbucks option that takes up most of my practice time. My clients would much rather see me sell their home than hit a hole-in-one.
Sheldon, you're normally about 5 strokes away from a hole-in-one. That's on a par 3.
Yeah. Remember, don't tee off with any agent. Talk to 2 or 3 and let you, Mallory, and me be one of them. Remember what people often say, when you want the job done, call Sheldon. And Mallory Moves Memphis. That's Sheldon Rosengarten and you, Mallory, at 682-1868 or MemphisRelocate.com. Do it now, 682-1868 or MemphisRelocate.com.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
model, 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte LXS, PE 581,756, MSRP 21,985, Sorrento PG 183,422, MSRP 23,405. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/23 with approved credit. Dealer stock only. Warranties are limited. Powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Jeff, my man, what's going on over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah? Look, I know you got something up your sleeve to blow me away.
You bet I do, Randy. Gas prices are high, but we've got you covered with 41 MPG Highway in your new 2023 Kia Forte LXS at $278 a month. $27.99 due at signing, and a 7-passenger SUV ready to ride in a 2023 Kia Sorrento LX $378 a month. $34.99 due at signing. Both 36-month lease.
Plus peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. And if I don't see exactly what I want,
I'll order it for you, and you won't pay over MSRP. So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
2680 Mount Moriah or KiaMountMoriah.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
A quick program note, Monday, pretty much right off the bat, about 10:05, 10:10, Mayor Jim Strickland in the House to talk about all of the stadiums and the upgrades, and I guess the financing. Will pick our mayor's brain on what he's going to do with the $350 that he gets from the state and all the additions, and how he's going to finance Simmons Liberty Bank Stadium, the new 901 FC, the upgrades at AutoZone Park, and, of course, what they're going to do with the infrastructure inside FedEx Forum. So that should be interesting. That'll be about 10:05 to 10:10 on Monday, right off the bat, here on Wolo and Friends. We talked to Russell Copeland here in a second. He's brought to you by Conway. A breakdown of your home's systems, any of them, can occur suddenly. If you call today, Conway Services will take $50 off any heating, cooling, plumbing, system repair that's over $200. Well, if it's just $200 and you get $50 off, we're talking 25%. These guys are really good at what they do. They can fix any system in your house, and you can trust those technicians. They come, they're ready 7 days a week to fix your problem the right way. All you got to do is call 384-3511, or if you want this deal, visit conwayservices.com. You get the details, the terms, and the conditions. They'll fix you right at Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. I don't think, Russell Copeland, we could have had a better Super Bowl than the one that we had. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Dave. You know, as you mentioned, I think this Super Bowl 57 was as good as any Super Bowl that we have seen. I think it was terrific. It was epic. You had a lot of different storylines, no bigger storylines than the two African-American quarterbacks playing for the first time in the history. And I think both of them put on the show a terrific game. It was worth the price of admission and all of the hoopla before this Super Bowl started. Great game.
I know you took KC. You took Philly, excuse me. I took KC all because I thought it was an even game, and I wanted the best player on the field. That's Patrick Mahomes. I still think your synopsis here, is he the best, or was he the best player on the field that day?
Well, absolutely. I think he's the best quarterback in the National Football League as far as player. There are some defensive players, but he is the best quarterback in the National Football League, and he's the face of the franchise. As far as him being the best player on the field that game, I totally disagree. I think Jalen Hurts was the best player on the football field that game. When you look at it, Patrick Mahomes, I know he didn't have a lot of opportunities in the first half, but 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. Of course, in the second half, he goes 14 for 15. But Jalen Hurts over 304 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns, 1 touchdown through the air, 3 rushing. Yes, he did have the fumble, and I think Jalen Hurts put on a show. And, you know, it's really difficult when you look at that game that he had to lose that game. But he could have arguably been the MVP if it was not Patrick Mahomes on the other side.
I don't disagree with that, but I also have to say he made up for it in a lot of different ways. But ultimately, when you look at that game, in a game that's won by a field goal with 8 seconds remaining, you have to say the fumble 6 that he coughed up is a major part of that game. Now, I know that Kansas City also scored one other or got 7 points out of a special teams play that wasn't really offensive, although the offense scored the touchdown, but it was set up by the punt return. But it's hard for me to say he's the best player when he made a mistake that ultimately, if you sort of sift through it, is very much a reason why they lose the game.
Well, I don't think it's a reason why they lost the game. Of course, there's points because at that time it was a play that changed momentum, but they were ahead of the football game. So that fumble, yes, they tied the game, but he came back the following series and went down and scored a touchdown. So, yes, you can be able to put the 6 points, but it's not like the Kansas City Chiefs went up in that football game and the Philadelphia Eagles were not able to bounce back. But I think overall, we can dispute that, but I think he was the best player on the field. And Dave, you're talking about plays. And for me, for the Philadelphia Eagles, there's 5 different plays that I think cost the game or it was momentum changes. And we talked about the fumble. Yep. And I think the lack of pressure by the defense, no sacks, no interceptions, and the second half adjustments by both offensive and defensive coordinators for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think one particular play when it's 3rd and 2 late in the fourth quarter, the Eagles decide to throw the football, even though for the 4 previous times they were running short yardage plays. They didn't get it. They punted the football to Tony. Tony runs it back 68 yards inside the 5-yard line. Those are some playing plays that I think were big differences. And there were 2 officiating plays that I think had a difference. And the one was in the first half of the catch with Devontae Smith on the sideline, would have given them the football inside the 5-yard line. They looked at it. I thought that it was a catch. And the elephant in the room with 1:54 to go, that flag at the end of the game. Those are 5 things for me that I think helped the Philadelphia Eagles lose the football game.
Yeah, I thought, and there was great debate at where I was watching the game, that it was not a catch. Because I did not believe that he had control of the ball all the way through and then stepped out of bounds. So I thought that was the right call. And then I thought, here's my simple rationale. If you make a call in the first quarter or second quarter, when you have a defensive back who is the guy that was the guy that did the holding, say that he held, when you got your coach saying it was a penalty, then I think that's the right call. That is a penalty. I know there are some that are going to say you late in the game, let the players play, but a penalty is a penalty in my mind.
And Dave, you make a really valid point in talking about was it a penalty. For me, as a former player in the National Football League and look at the football games, I think when you look at ticky-tack calls, I think the referees can make ticky-tack calls on the offensive line nearly every play for holding. I think they can make ticky-tack calls on the defensive backs on passing plays for holding and pass interference. Most of the times, they let those penalties go because if you call all those ticky-tack penalties, we will watch a football game for 6 hours, and that's not going to happen. The way the juncture of the game was going, the way they were officiating the game, I thought that he did not impede the wide receiver. He did not stop the wide receiver from going into the route. And so that was a ticky-tack foul. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because he made the call. He did do a tug, and he threw the flag. For me as a player, as a fan of the game, the way that game was going, how great that game was going, I do not want that game to end on a ticky-tack foul. And, Dave, you've been broadcasting for a very long time. You've been broadcasting at the collegiate level, and you've seen ticky-tack calls, and you have broadcasted about them, and you said, I don't think that call was a big enough call to make. You've seen calls that were not made, and you've seen calls that were made. And I just take the stance in that it was not a big enough call. At that point in time, I want to see the 2 teams play, but I'm fine with it. He held them, you called it, and the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions.
And I still think, really, we'll never know, but KC is still going to kick the field goal. What it took away from Philly is the chance with, a minute and 40 or whatever it was to come, and they would have had timeouts at that point. To come back and either tie the game or have a chance to win. But we will never know about that. So I think it had controversy. It had everything you want. It was a great Super Bowl. I don't know. Can you say 2 Super Bowl wins in 6 years, 3 appearances in the Super Bowl in that time period? Is that dynastic?
Well, I think we could definitely have the discussion, and I talked about it earlier in the week, and I'm saying now, we're going to have the discussion about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. We're going to be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs now and say, can they be a dynasty? Is Patrick Mahomes the new face? Is he the next Tom Brady? And to be honest about it, I think that he can be considered the GOAT if he wins 2 more. And here's the reason that I say that, is that Tom Brady has been the 10. Tom Brady has won 7. But from a lack of physical attributes, his physical talent, he had to win that many. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and you look at what he has done earlier in his career, Tom Brady had to sustain it for 20 years. He's been doing it at a high level from a physical standpoint early in his career. He doesn't have to necessarily win 7 for him to be considered the GOAT because of his talent. His talent is so high and what he has done for 7 years. For the first 5 years. And yes, I do think that you can look at the Kansas City Chiefs, if they win another Super Bowl, that this is a dynasty.
I will say this. I think 1 or 2 for sure. Just making a Super Bowl or 2 or 3 and winning 1 or 2 clearly would make them a dynasty. Your point about the greatest of all time, and I love the I've mentioned it several times, but ESPN's headline about Patrick Mahomes where they said GOAT in training. I think it's beautiful. It's spot on, whoever was clever enough to do that. I think your point is well taken that physically, Patrick Mahomes is unreal. Tom Brady does not have the physical attributes, the foot speed, the moves, the different release points on passes that Mahomes has. I would agree with that, but it's all depending on how you define what is the greatest of all time. Is it number of Super Bowls? Going to be hard to beat 7. I didn't think anybody could beat Montana, who, by the way, is still up there. What do you have, 4 or 5? I can't remember which. But Mahomes, that's a question mark if he can get to Montana's amount of championships.
Yeah,
is it, do you play 20 years at a high level? Is it, do you have more touchdown passes or yardage completed? There's so many different ways that we can define it. I don't know that you'll ever find a guy, because of the longevity at a high level that Tom Brady had, that you'll ever beat that. In this game, especially the way that Mahomes plays, he is a guy that gets injured. We've seen him injured several times now in his 6-year career as a young man. If he continues to play at the pace he does and the style that he does, I don't think he's going to make the 20 years. Look, he should have 10 more years to 37. He's not getting 18 more years.
Well, I think you have to look at longevity and you have to look at dominance, and that's what Tom Brady has. He has both of them. He has dominance and he has longevity, kind of opposite of when you look at in the NBA. LeBron James has longevity, but when you look at scoring, you look at dominance, it's Michael Jordan. So that's the difference in that. As far as him playing the game for a long period of time, will he want to play the game? That's going to be a question. But the way the rules are constructed for quarterbacks, I don't think he's going to be able to get hurt. The way the doctors are bringing you back, I think that you come back just as good as ever. You look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow hurts himself in his first year. He comes back and he's back. I don't think we're looking at Joe Burrow and saying, hey, I think he's going to have knee issues towards the end. Tom Brady had ACL surgery. So as far as an injury standpoint, the way he moves and runs around, he throws the football as good as anyone from inside and outside the pocket. I don't think injury would be a question. I'm just thinking of the love of the game. Will he want to play the game in his 40s?
You bring up a good point about medical technology now. So you're saying like a guy like Brock Purdy, who is maybe going to have Tommy John surgery. I don't think that's totally been determined yet. But you're not worried that he comes back and he's got the same arm strength?
The way technology is, no, I'm not. Every player is different. But we have seen great players be able to come back. We saw Alex Smith. Alex Smith had the Joe Theismann type of leg injury, and he was able to still come back and play. So that's not a concern with me when I look at great players being able to come back because the technology is so far ahead. But as far as the GOAT comparison, we're going to always be able to compare. And that's just what makes sports so great. But Patrick Mahomes right now, early in his career, I don't think we've seen any quarterback that put together championships along with the talent that he has. We've seen Jeff George have a lot of talent, but he wasn't able to put things together offensively. We see Aaron Rodgers. He's only won one. When you look at Patrick Mahomes now, he's won two. It puts him in a whole different class of quarterback.
You know, that Joe, at Alex Smith comparison about technology today, he was close to losing his leg. And to come back, and I don't think he ever came back the same, but to come back and play at all at the highest level is incredible. All right, I'm going to talk with you next week about what you think are going to be the great storylines for next year. But I want to put this one to bed. Your favorite 2 or 3 storylines of 2022?
Well, Jalen Hurts, for one. I think that storyline was good coming into the season at 12-17-1. Yep. Nick Sirianni being in his second year. For me, that really was a big storyline for me, where they ended up. And to me, that's just on the top. I don't really have 2 or 3 because I'm looking at the Super Bowl and I'm just looking at how teams were before and where they ended up. That's just at the top of the line for me because I love the underdog role. So the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be at the top, and Jalen Hurts, where he played the quarterback position. And for me, I put him in the top 3 quarterbacks right now. I put Jalen Hurts as a top 3 quarterback in the National Football League.
How would you rate him? Because my top 3 would be Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and I'm disappointed in Allen. How would you rate the top 3?
I agree with you, except for Allen being right there. I think I love Buffalo. I love Josh Allen, but he's a turnover machine. He turns the football over way too many times in critical situations. That's the reason why the Buffalo Bills were struggling toward the middle of the season, because of his turnovers. When I look at Allen, great talent, he wows you, but he has to stop turning the football over. When I look at Jalen Hurts, it's very similar to Joe Burrow, and people say, wow. We didn't have any question marks about Joe Burrow after his second season, leading the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl in just his second season. So why should we have questions about Jalen Hurts going into his next season after he has led the Philadelphia Eagles and playing as well as he's been playing? I put him behind Joe Burrow at the 3rd quarterback in the National Football League for what he has done.
Good. Food for thought. We'll do this again next week. Russell, have a great weekend. No football. Oh, wait. We got the XFL.
That's right.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
That's our man on the NFL. That is Russell Copeland. He's brought to you by Ken Garland. Boy, they're both incredible in their fields. I mean, Ken Garland is as proficient when it comes to building a home as Russell Copeland is analyzing and, of course, playing in the National Football League. And we're talking second generation with Ken. He and his dad before him, 65 years of building dream homes, palaces throughout the Memphis Metroplex. Go see what I'm talking about. Go to kengarland.com. And then if you want to talk, he's a really interesting guy to talk to because he sees the little details and the big picture all at once. Not many people can do that. Ken Garland can. Call him, 751-1632, 751-1632. If you've got land, maybe in your family for generations, you're ready to build your dream home, you're not sure how to utilize that land, Ken will know. If you're looking for land for that dream home, Ken's got it. And if you're really happy with where you are, but you want a modern palace, he is the master of renovation with innovation. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. We pause for a second, and Jarvis Greer, I used to say from Action News 5, the retired Jarvis Greer. No, wait, he's doing some stuff for Grind City. He comes your way in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, friends. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. Not long ago, a gentleman came in and bought his wife a stunning bracelet for Valentine's Day. As I wrapped it, he asked me, Bill, how long have we been doing this? Well, we thought back to when he bought his engagement ring in 1971. We did the math, and the answer to the question was 52 years. Then we talked about some 20 years later when his son got married, and Russell Brothers Jewelers had just the right ring for his bride. Then, this past Christmas, I met his grandson, and we found the perfect gift for his girlfriend. At Russell Brothers Jewelers, we take great pride in the multi-generational families that we serve. and we are humbled by their loyalty. So how do we do it? Easy answer, folks, and one I'm proud of. Beauty, quality, value, and service. We would love the opportunity to share those things with you. Come see us at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkhardt, Sunrise Buick GMC truck. Thinking about a new or used car truck and not sure where to get the most for your money? Listen to what Sunrise has to offer. Over 800 new Buicks and GMCs to choose from with factory rebates up to $1,000 and $15 million used car inventory, specializing in cars and trucks under $15,000. Bad credit, bankrupt, slow pay, it's okay. At Sunrise, we specialize in secondary finance. The #1 volume Buick GMC dealer in the Mid-South and home with a guaranteed credit approval. Sunrise, coming to Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
One story I meant to mention, and that is a philanthropic, just fantastic story. Michael Jordan, MJ, gave $10 million to Make-A-Wish yesterday in honor of his 60th birthday. $10 million is the largest donation ever given to that organization. There's not much better organizations that really care and grant for kids a last wish that usually is very elaborate and cool. I guess we could say, as we bring in our friend Jarvis Greer, MJ is the greatest of all time on a lot of fronts. Good morning.
Morning, Dave. Yeah, that is really something. $10 million. It's like, wow. But then you think Michael Jordan is 60? Oh, my goodness.
I know.
What does that make us, Lord?
It makes us older.
I remember Jordan hitting that shot for North Carolina in the national championship game in the Superdome. But, of course, his fame was already skyrocketing before then, but he was just a freshman. To come in and do that in a national championship game, pressure, he thrives on pressure. He was. We had the Michael Jordan Come Fly With Me VHS tape, and then there was another one that he had. We had them all. The kids watched them, and I watched them with him and was in awe each time.
Well, and then it was ESPN that did that documentary about him and the series of interviews that was captivating for a couple of nights. They did that. That was fantastic. And
that was over about a month every weekend for about. And it was during COVID, which, everybody was shut in at home and everybody watched it, and it was just awesome.
So that made another generation of people that loved him. And now there's a new movie coming out, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and I think Affleck's the director-producer, and it's about Sonny Vaccaro and Phil Knight and how Michael Jordan really launched Nike to a new level, because up until then, Nike was like running shoes. And they introduced MJ, and everything went bananas. All right, now that you're a Grind City media guy, you're a Grizzlies guy.
Yep.
Let me ask you what I sort of said. If you're looking at this, it's more than halfway. 57 games in the books, games now, 25 to go. What's the best surprise that you have seen this year? And keep in mind, the 35 wins at the All-Star break are the most the franchise has ever had going into the vacation.
As far as the Grizzlies are concerned, surprise. Well, they were all talking about Santi Aldama in camp, And I was saying, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, I've seen it, and he is really, really, really turning into a player that I can see where they spent some draft capital to get him. And wow, where they got him at the end of the first round is just, it's King Kleiman and company, doing their thing to get this kid out of Loyola, Maryland. Which one is it? Was it Loyola, Maryland, I think, right?
Loyola, Maryland? Yeah, I think
it's one of the
right.
Loyolas.
Yeah, it could have been Loyola, Marymount.
And no, it wasn't Marymount. That's West Coast. I think it was Loyola, Maryland.
Okay,
and,
you're probably right. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll look it up
I just
quick.
think, and he's been fairly consistent. You remember he had to start the year because Jaren Jackson Jr. was hurt, and he, or not hurt. He was coming off of rehab, injury rehab, and it's like, okay, he's in the starting lineup. Let's see what he can do, and he was really putting up really good numbers. And then when Tripp came back, he put up the same kind of numbers, in a smaller role off the bench. So whenever that's that whole next man up, they really found something in him, and they take their time and they develop their draft picks. When they want to develop you, they'll give you every opportunity, as we've seen with Zaire Williams. On a pass-fail project, we'll see what you can do, and if it doesn't work, you go back down to South Haven and play with the hustle and get your game back up, and then you can get back up to the big club. So shout out to Santi Aldama. And plus, he's got the lineage. His dad and his uncle, I think, were both Olympians for Spain. So that's he's got it in the genes, and he's living up to it.
Well, I must confess, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but that's who I picked.
Oh, really?
And you're right. Loyola of Maryland is where he played collegiately for 2 years, and he was the last pick of last year's or the year before, the 30th overall first round. So they found a really good one there. The only other one that I could think of as the biggest surprise is the guy that, Santi was playing for, and that is Triple J. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr., we were hoping he would take this step forward, and he certainly has. He's an all-star.
Well, that's the only reason why I didn't pick him, because they were hoping. They knew what they had. They gave him, if you recall, after the season ended last season, they gave him a whole list of things to do. He had the biggest list of things to work on in the off season of any of the players, and of course he had the potential to do it. But he got that foot injury, that stress fracture, whatever it was, and that put him behind a bit. But he's come back, and he has just been getting better and better and better. And he just came he was one rebound or one block shot short of having a quadruple triple in threes, 3-pointers, blocks, steals, and assists. And nobody's ever done that. And he came up one short in that game last night. So
right.
they really when they went and got him, and he was a Chris Wallace pick before the new regime came in.
Somebody
and
giving Chris Wallace some credit. Thank God for that. All right, real quick before we run out of time, the negatives, the bummer of this year. I got 2 candidates for you.
Okay, let me hear them.
Mine are, one was as brilliant as they've been in the back of the pack with their picks. This year, between Roddy and Laravia, Roddy might be okay. Laravia at this point is not doing the job. And then the other one is, you've already mentioned him, it's Zaire Williams. A lot of people thought at the end of last year Williams would be what Aldama is this year, and it has not worked out. Now, maybe he's injured. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. But that has not worked out the way we all envisioned.
Now, and remember, Zaire Z was out for longer than Jaren was at the beginning of the year because he had some sort of injury that he had to work his way through. And you talk about he is a long-term project because he only played that 1 year at Stanford, and it was a COVID year, and they didn't even play at home. I don't think they even went on campus. And so they are betting on him in the long run. That's one of those futures bets. And, I think that really set him back much more than it did Jaren because he missed pretty much the whole off season and trying to work his way back in there. And, he's got a lack of confidence, but playing down there with the hustle in the G League, he's putting up pretty good numbers now, and he looks more fluid, and he looks like he's, starting to get more confidence in his jumper, and also defensively, he's not like missing assignments, which I think he got down on himself because his shot wasn't going in. And then, you know how it is with players. When your offense isn't working, a lot of times your defense will suffer. So, that's a long-term project. How long they stay with it, I don't know. But I don't think that they're not the kind of team. They haven't shown the kind of team to just give up on somebody once they draft.
No, and actually Aldama made that same path last year, right? He went down to South Haven and found rhythm and developed, got better, and maybe that'll happen for Zaire Williams. Last thing.
Let me hit you with this one real quick.
Okay.
I think you saw David Roddy when he was at Colorado State. Then they played the Tigers in the NIT. I think he's got a future. I think he'll be in the league for a long time.
I would tell you this. I think he's better than I thought he was going to be. Memphis just had no problem with him, to be honest. But he
was just kind of average in that game.
Yeah,
but he did lead them in scoring. I think he had 18 points.
He did. He missed threes, and he's a better 3-point shooter than I thought he was going to be. I like his body. He's fearless too. I like his attitude. I think that's the one positive that I would take away from that. Real quick, in 15 seconds, so easy for you. Will the Grizzlies hold on to the number 2 seed?
Looking at it with the number of games left and the number of games that they're ahead, even with Phoenix having KD now, Kevin Durant, and, of course, Sacramento, they know exactly what they are. I think that their lead is big enough that, and especially you're going to get Steven Adams back after the All-Star break, I think their lead is big enough that they'll be able to hang in there. Now, those last 10 games are a murderous row. So we'll see. That will totally decide whether or not, they hang on to it. But I think their lead is big enough where they can do it. Because those other teams that made moves, they got to, work their pecking order out. Work how they're going to make things work. Yes. Phoenix would have the best opportunity.
I got the feeling Phoenix will catch him, but we shall see. Jarvis Greer, we will talk to you next Thursday.
All right, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Jarvo. And that'll do it for us. It's brought to you in part by our good friend Matt Eflin and the Eflin Insurance Team, where they do protection for you, security for you in a unique way. They collaborate. They get together and get to know you. So you meet with the team. They'll get to know your family, whether that's for car insurance, maybe it's for your home. Could be life insurance. Matt gets to know you, what's important to you, what he needs to protect, what the budget is you have, and then voila, you will have security. He sort of works it the same way with commercial insurance. His specialties are small to mid-sized businesses. He'll learn your product. He'll know your assets. He'll talk about your personnel, who you got to take care of. He'll forecast you down for a couple of years. Then find out what your budget is and protect you when it comes to commercial insurance. All you got to do is call 901-386-GER. Get that collaboration. That GER, by the way, is because they love the Tigers. It's 4777 386-4777. The Eflin Insurance Team. That'll do it for us. J-Mo will be back with me tomorrow. Thank you, Brian Takis, for filling in. Brian will be here tomorrow as well. We got a surprise guest coming your way early. Don't forget the mayor on Monday. Johnny Radio is next.
We told you this was going to happen, and now it has. The floor model sale is happening at Family Leisure. Lowest prices of the year on pool tables, on those wonderful spas, on patio furniture, state-of-the-art, and, of course, the game tables. Floor model arcades are now starting at $1,200. It's your last chance for a 2022 pool. And floor model trampolines are only $2,100. That's the installed price. Family Leisure, I-40 and Wooden Road.